Well, hello, phenomenal people. I am so excited. On today is Father's Day. Fathers are great. I love fathers. Unfortunately, I lost my father in 2010. However, the celebration of fatherhood still lives on. Today, I have a special guest, a phenomenal guest, Norris Thomas. So I want you to welcome him to the show. Hello, Norris.
Hi, how are you, Mrs. P, Mrs. Phenomenon? And live and in the, well, we're not live and in the flesh, but we're close enough.
That's right, we're not live in the flesh. And good morning, Mrs. P. I kind of like that, Mrs. P. Okay, so guys, he's on mobile, so we're not face to face. So I want you guys to know that it may be a little bit silly or it may be a little bit serious. Who knows? We're going to let Norris Thomas tell us a little bit about who Norris Thomas is. Who are you?
Well, first of all, just like yourself, I want to wish everyone out there, all the dads and uncles and everyone who are dads, very blessed Father's Day. I hope that you have an opportunity to spend some time with your loved ones, or at least make a phone call or send a text or whatever, but make sure you honor and send your best to everyone out there. And that's what I'm doing this morning. Just want to wish you all a happy Father's Day. Very excited to be a part of the program today, a special Father's Day program. And just to share a little bit about myself, I currently live in Phoenix, Arizona, but I'm a motivational speaker and a new author. I've been speaking for the past 20 years and have a pretty diverse background of professional experience as a mortgage banker and educator, taught broadcast for a number of years, and currently on the road doing some speaking. But my backstory, as opposed to my professional life, is I was a professional athlete for a couple of years. I tried out with the New York Giants and then played up in the Canadian Football League for a couple of seasons. And so that kind of sets my platform for what it is that we do with Norris Thomas Seminars. And now here's the shameless plug. It's www.norristhomas.com.
We're going to get to that, Norris, okay?
You can, okay.
We're going to get to that part where you put your plug in.
Okay, because I wrote it all over my arm.
Did
so
you tat it?
Forget to say that.
Or you just wrote it?
No, it's just, it's a Sharpie.
Oh.
So it'll be there.
Okay. So you are a new author. That is the Fatherless to Fatherhood. Fatherless to Fatherhood. So tell us a little bit about what that is and how you came about to creating this book.
Well, the full title is called In His Image, Fatherless to Fatherhood. And pretty much with anything that we do on the platform, anything we do, there's always, we try to come from it's faith-based, but the In His Image originally comes out of Genesis 1:26. Let us create man in our image and in his likeness. And so for me, I never knew my biological father, so I got this crazy idea at the age of 8 years old that I wanted to find my dad, but I took a more unconventional method of doing so. I told myself, well, what if I made it in the NFL, and then if I had a great game, one of these big games out there, then I could get on national television and call out to my dad. So that's kind of what kind of fueled the football dream for a long time.
That's pretty good, though, Norris. That's pretty good. I mean, that can make a movie. You can make a movie out of that.
You could, but I mean, how? That just goes to speak to a couple of things. Number one, the huge void that is in so many people's lives, but even more so, look at the imagination of a child. I mean, I could have just said, maybe I could be a firefighter or a police officer or something. No, I chose a road less traveled and figured, let's try and find them through professional sports. So that kind of fueled everything else. As it relates to the project in and of itself, I came to a place within my speaking on the platform, and realized not everybody can relate to the story of being a professional athlete. And we also overcame homelessness along the way. But I mean, I played football. That was over 20 something years ago. And it's not like I'm a Hall of Famer, so people really don't know that. And even more so, I think people really don't connect. They like to hear the athletic stories, but not everyone's really connecting with that. But when I started touching on the fact that I did not know my father, that was something that really resonated with the audience. You could feel the spirit in the room change, and on a lot of different occasions, and so on. And so just so happened I was speaking in New Orleans, and it really hit, and some women came up to me afterwards. And the lady, she says, you know, when you spoke about your father, that really changed everything in the room, and you should have just went for it. And I says, well, they didn't really pay me to preach. He says, well, everybody in the room knew. And so that kind of gave the shape and the structure. I was already in the process of writing a book anyway, but wasn't real sure of, you know, how I was going to title it. So just the In His Image piece, from a standpoint of, you know, if we're created in His image and in His likeness, then we already naturally have a certain amount of power. And sometimes people miss that, and they go searching for other things.
Right.
For me, you find other things to replace that power. And for me, until, you know, later on in life, you know, I used athletics.
Yeah.
Sports was was something that I tried to mold myself into to fill a void. And so moving from that piece of it into adulthood and everything else, and then also eventually becoming a father myself, you start looking around, and man, my kids look just like me. And so they're like in my image. And so we're looking at not just my image, but and I'm going to give a little secret of the book away. I eventually did find my father.
Oh, wow.
Years
You're
later.
not supposed to tell them that.
Well, you know what? It's you know what? People have to have a reason to pick up the book. Well, man, I want to hear about that.
They're going to pick it up because
everything.
it's phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. I truly believe the issue of the fatherless is a huge issue in our society. I believe I want to be able to give a voice to it, help bring healing to so many people. But it's a great story. It's a feel-good story. There's some great coaching points in the book, and then also in the very end, there's a call to action. And so, as I said before, this is more about, not knowing who your father was,
right.
Understanding who the father is, and we talk a little bit about that too. Mm-hmm. And becoming a father, and even more so understanding, once I found my dad, finding out that I was a lot like him, and I never spent a day with him. Okay. But here I am, once, we got to know each other a little bit more. My other siblings were like, man, you shoot pool like him, you laugh like him, you joke like him, and so on. So the whole idea behind the In His Image is so if I'm that way with my earthly dad or earthly father, how much more are we really like? If we can tap into the power of understanding how much more are we like our Heavenly Father, who's created us in His image and in His likeness. So that's the message.
I think that's a powerful message too. But what I want to do is I want to go on break. And when I come back, I want you to talk to the audience about that power within you. What fueled that power. I know you talk about, your athletics, but, I sense there's a little bit more inside of you. So I want you to talk to the audience about how they find that power, how to promote that power, how to also, I know you talk about making a decision. It starts with a decision. So we're going to come back. We're going to go on break. But before I go, I want you guys to go on Facebook, visit me at Phenomenon. Also follow me on Periscope at Tonia Phenom. And also there's going to be an upcoming event, and I'll talk to you about it later, but I'll talk to you after break.
Phenomenon with Tonia will be back right after this.
Validar,
Flames of Camelot is the first installment of an epic trilogy that follows the exploits of this mythical warrior as he journeys through time and space. Available at tatepublishing.com.
Hi, this is Chance Glenn. The best way to support the show is to buy from Amazon.com through our website at morningbirdmedia.com. Everyone buys online these days, from school supplies to Christmas gifts, and everyone buys from Amazon.com. You can help us by clicking on the Amazon button on our webpage, then shopping as you normally do. There's no additional cost to do this, but a part of what you purchase goes towards helping the show. With it, we can keep this content coming the way you like it at morningbirdmedia.com.
Make your next event, workshop, or conference more powerful with improved networking for attendees and more useful analytics about those in attendance using Confab Analytics' new professional networking environment. Sign your event up with Confab Analytics and tailor our networking environment to suit your specific event. Your attendees simply download our free Confab app to their mobile device. Through the app, they are able to check in without waiting in line and can share key information electronically with fellow attendees. Using your custom Confab event portal, you can view and store analytics about your attendees, as well as send to them individually or as a group up-to-date information about everything going on at your event. They'll always know where the best networking opportunities are. By using Confab Analytics' professional networking environment, your attendees will have a better experience and be more likely to tell others about how good your event was. In turn, you'll have more meaningful data about your attendees, so you can give them an even better experience next time. Confab maximizes your event by making you and your attendees part of the network and a whole lot more. For more information, visit confabanalytics.com or email sales@confabanalytics.com. Confab, connecting the most important part of the network, you.
The Morning Bird Media Network at morningbirdmedia.com.
Welcome back to Phenomenon. Now, here's Tonia.
Welcome back. We are here again with Mr. Norris Thomas, the motivational speaker, the athlete, the preacher, the author. Shall I go on, Norris? Well, sorry. The father. Hey, the father. It's Father's Day, the father. So before we went on break, I said we're going to talk about the power within and how it viewed you and how you became who you became. So you want to talk to the audience about that?
No, we can do that, but first of all, we need to clarify that whole athlete piece because just because a person can run to the car in the rain does not make them an athlete.
No, I think you said something about playing professional football, then Canadian League. So that's an athlete, right?
That was also 21 years ago.
Hey,
but
don't discount that. Hey,
I'm still track.
So I'm an athlete.
I'm still very athletic. I just have learned to take my time.
Yeah, because you're old now. Okay.
Yeah, we're old.
So let's talk about some power. What about power?
Well, you want to talk about power, and the thing here's something that I just that and this is something that comes over years of time, and just as you mature more and so on and so forth. What is it that not just your audience, but even for yourself, what is it that you're tapping into as a guide? And one of the things that I've learned over the years is people like to talk to former athletes. Mm-hmm. They like to talk to athletes. Mm-hmm. They like to talk to them, but they're not really listening. They want to talk because they want to hear about the good stuff. What was it like playing with this guy? Or did you know this guy? Or, they've got a story to tell themselves about someone that they met or a game that they were at and so on. And, but they like talking to you. But when it really gets down to the nitty gritty and you start talking about, okay, here is how it was done, or here, a lot of people can't relate on that piece of it. I think, when you really start talking about, the teamwork and, well, why do you miss the locker room so much? And it's just the guys. Well, everything is about relationships.
Right.
It really is.
It
but,
is.
So yeah, that is a piece of it all. But really when it, for myself, beyond, the drive of saying, okay, I hoped that I would have found my dad playing at, just hoping that he would be standing in the tunnel or watching, on television or something like that if I would have found him, and so on and so forth. That's one thing. But there also is the daily application. And I think that's the piece that separates, that's the intrigue of when people speak to, when you're talking to an athlete and they're like, oh, I could never imagine myself doing what you do. And there's the hook right there. You haven't imagined it yet. You haven't decided.
That's good.
You haven't tried.
That's
you haven't,
good.
kind of, as soon as, so that's why, if you're in a room, and I've always kind of had this idea, call it, I don't know, exclusive, some exclusivity. How many people in the room have played a professional sport? And usually there might be one person in the room. I'm not talking about at one of my events. I'm just saying, say you're at the food court and they walk in and they say, hey, how many people have done this? Well, it's no different. You talk about the percentages of people actually having an opportunity to be an athlete, professional athlete, and they say it's like 1%. So you've got this funnel, and then all of a sudden that one person out of 2 million falls out of that funnel. Well, you've got to consider yourself to be that one person.
Right.
If you don't, then of course, then that's where you get back. Oh, I could never imagine being, doing what you did or do, and it's like, well, it's just sports. It wasn't like I was a soldier or anything like that, but it's a big, it's a big deal. And I guess you don't realize it until later on. And, the magnitude of what it is that you're doing and so on. But it started with the decision. Like for me, I was 13, or even younger, but as you start going along, you have to start having some keys or some signals or some signs that show that oh, hey, are you making progress towards this desired goal? Once you've decided, okay, hey, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to tie my shoes, I want to climb a mountain. There's got to be a process. So, we talk about, I've got to be able to give my audience something other than just the story about me overcoming homelessness and playing professional football, because not everybody can relate to that. But what they can relate to is a formula or some steps to help them realize the decision that they've made. Are they making progress towards their end goal? So we talk about the 5 characteristics of a successful decision.
Right.
The first being, we've got to get sharp and focused. And not just focus. I think everybody can get focused, because we can, in our sleep, put our shoes on, get dressed, and we can mosey on off to work in our, with our eyes closed, blindfolded on Monday morning. So that's focus, because we do this as a routine of things. Mm-hmm. But sharpened focus is changes, because now there's an absolute goal at the end that we're trying to get to. So we've got to sharpen our focus. And really what that means is you got to try to get to yourself.
That's good.
And it doesn't always include everybody else. Okay. And, sharpen focus, it's a positive thing. You don't need to tell everybody. It's kind of like, you don't want everybody to know that you sneak to the casino and go play slot machines. Well, not everybody needs to know that, hey, I just locked in and I'm locked in right now. So let's get locked in. Then the next thing is we got to have a plan. So we need to get clarity of your mission, and then we got to get discipline. All the clarity of mission is we got to have a game plan.
Right. Make
a plan for what it is that you want to do. And it's no different if you apply this to everything. No different than the book that I wrote. It happened when I wanted to write this book. It was we hosted the Super Bowl out here in Phoenix, not this past year, the year before, and that Super Bowl actually kind of marked what I believe, I know we're 20 plus years later, but marked the end of my football career. And I was a part of the Super Bowl gospel choir that we had here, and it played on BET. Great evening, great event. And, I ran into some guys that I hadn't seen since I played in 20 plus years. One of them being Harold Nash, who is now the strength coach with the Detroit Lions. At the time, he was strength coach with the Patriots. Ended up winning the Super Bowl. And so I saw him, saw some other guys. And so right before we went backstage, we were about to go on stage with Fred Hammond and Donnie McKirkland, some of my favorite guys. I turned to a guy and I said, we had an opportunity to play at a very high level and do what we love to do. But what we're about to do here, this is what we were created to do.
Wow.
And that's worship.
Wow.
And that night kind of changed my trajectory of what it is that I was doing personally and professionally. And so it sharpened my focus. I sat down the next week and I started writing this book. And it took me a year and a half to write the book and get it published. So it wasn't something that just, we just threw together in a 3-month span. So I had to get sharp in focus because it's one thing to tell the story. It's another to get sharp and get detailed and get everything out that's supposed to be out. So I had to get focused. I had to get sharp and focused. Wow. And I had to get clarity of the mission. I had to have a plan. Okay. What was the plan? Originally, the plan was, hey, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write for 2 hours every day. And I was going to try and knock this book out in 3-4 months. Didn't happen like that. Plan changed.
Right.
Okay. But I made adjustments along the way in the plan. Okay. In my mission. Then I had to get disciplined. The discipline part was, hey, I got to a point to where this consumed everything that I was doing. I wrote at blocks. I could sit for 2 and 3 hours at a crack. I mean, sometimes it would be 2 a.m. Sometimes it'd be 3:00 in the afternoon. But it just got to a point to where the ideas were flowing and I had to be disciplined, do it the same way every day. So then I had to, even more so than just saying, okay, we're going to write at 2 a.m. We said, okay, at this time of the day, this is when we're going to do this. Okay. And from there, I saw increased production. The chapters just started flowing and I wasn't sure how many, I'm thinking, okay, maybe if we can just get 8 chapters out of this thing, and so we got to 8 chapters and I still was writing.
Oh, wow.
So my point to that is once you do those other 3, if you get sharp and focus, once you get the clarity of the mission, once you get discipline, you're going to see increased production. You're going to start seeing results. You will see there's nothing that you put your hands to, if you're consistent with it, you're going to see results. Now, whether, if you're doing something positive, you're going to see positive results. If you're doing negative things, you'll see negative results. But let's think positively right now.
Right.
And last and most importantly, number 5 is this. You're going to see mastery. Okay, you're going to see mastery, and all mastery is that you've mastered this experience in your life. Okay, for me, I mastered the experience of publishing and writing a book. I mastered college. We've mastered high school. You mastered your week. If you write it down like that, you've mastered climbing a mountain. So, to put that in better context, our life is full of experiences. Right. We want to master them. We want to get to a point of mastery, whether it's a project at work or whatever. I mean, even as it relates to your professional career, when you're out there looking for a job, okay, what is your resume? Your resume is a list of things that you have mastered. Now, you might have bent the line a little bit, but we're looking for areas of your life and your work history that shows mastery. So you're going to put on there, hey, I've managed a group of 250 people. I led the IT initiative for blah, 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 blah. I managed, X amount of people. Or, this is, I was in charge of this territory, or I, spoke, 300 dials a day in the call center and so on. So you mastered it. We're looking for areas of mastery. And so that's where your decision comes in. And that's where, that's what we're hoping, not just with the book, but even when we're on the platform,
right,
is to pull that out of people. So that way, they can experience and they can apply this to every area of their life. But you got to stop for a moment and do that. Right. A lot of times we don't. We just get bogged down with the everyday rigors of life. And so I think, and that may be the intrigue. I think today's the NBA championship, game 7, but I think that's what intrigues people to sport is that, we have 130 different things going on within the course of a day.
Right.
It's great that we can all come to a place and just sit down and watch some guys run up and down the court or run up and down the field or play on the diamond or hockey or whatever it is. They've got one mission. They got one goal. And we all know from being in the workforce, that's pretty hard to get people to do. So I think that's what people are enamored with this, with sport, because you've got these people, and, you know, teamwork can be, you know, teamwork is kind of like it's like an oxymoron in some places, you know. So we have to start understanding and bridging that gap in between of understanding, you know what, it's not an oxymoron. It really is something that is great if we can grasp it. So that way, you know, there should not be a company that fails if you can lock in and understand teamwork. But I think our society in America, we're intrigued by the idea of seeing this group of guys who are, for the most part, millionaires, all working towards one goal.
Right.
Super Bowl, there's one trophy. NBA, there's one trophy. Hockey, there's the Stanley Cup.
Right.
Major League Baseball, there's one trophy. We don't get that. We have 10 different trophies we're trying to win all in a day. We take a nap in the evening, and then we get up the next day and we're shooting for another trophy. We got to win the mom trophy. We got to win the carpool trophy. We got to win the trophy in traffic, and so on. So, you know, a lot of different things going on as far as experiences that we have to master, as opposed to, man, wouldn't it be great if all we had to do was just focus on just one thing? But we don't, and we can't. That's not, you know. But I'm just hoping that, you know, we can, you know, with our story, number one, but even more so on the platform, is get people to kind of slow down a little bit. You know, let's apply this to everything, get a plan, and then work from there.
I think that your 5 keys were awesome. Actually, the first one for me, focus. I always talk about focus, but then when you say sharpen focus, that's really key for me, because you can focus, but sharpening your focus actually helps you to get to your number 5, where you talk about mastery. I also like when you talk about the clarity of mission. You know, as you're talking, I'm thinking about a couple of scriptures in my head, you know, because you're not the only one that preach every now and then. You know, people try to pull a preacher out of me, but you know, your decision making is, you know, I think about be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So, you know, making a decision has to begin with renewing your mind. Even when you go to where you talk about increased productivity, I mean, increasing productivity, your mind kind of has to change. You know, when you talk about the carpool, the mommy thing, you get in that mode. But if you have the sharpened focus and the clarity of mission, even when you're doing all of that, you know, it gets you to the increased productivity, but you got to have the discipline in between that. And then the mastery is where we all want to be, right? Mastery.
Yeah,
and then that helps us to make a decision. So I'm thinking, this is awesome. This is phenomenal. This is a phenomenon experience, going through those steps and actually helping people to understand some steps that they need to take. Because, you know, we like steps. We like people to give us the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right?
Absolutely.
Like
yeah. And I think because of that, and even, you know, I did 5. Some people say, well, the best way is just think about it in 3s. Well, if you want to break it down in 3s, think like this:
right.
Sharpen focus, sharpen focus,
yeah,
sharpen focus.
Exactly. That would be my 3.
Clarity, mission, clarity, mission, clarity, mission. Say all 5 of them 3 times. That'll get you.
And spin around 5. So.
Yeah.
Well, this was actually awesome. Can you tell them how to find you, what you're going to be doing in the next couple of months, things like that, you know, how they reach out and find Norris Thomas?
Well, the best way, but the World Wide Web. Remember when people used to say that first before they said, and then they went to www.
Yeah.
You can reach me on the World Wide Web.
You're showing
say
your
that
age.
5 times fast.
World Wide Web.
Norris at norristhomas.com. So you can reach me there. You can also email me at info@norristhomas.com. That's my website. You can also purchase the book at that same spot. In His Image, Fatherless to Fatherhood. It's right there for you. We're right now distributing from lulu.com. So even if you go to lulu.com, you can get the book there also. We're going to be one of the things as it relates to the book, it's not necessarily a tour, it's a supplement to what we talk about, but as it relates to youth and nonprofits and so on, we're about to, we're working with some corporate backers that are purchasing bulk copies, so that way we can build up a library of the books.
Oh, great.
So when we go and speak to schools that don't have the budget, or nonprofits that don't have the budget, we're going to be, that way we can be able to give some of the books away, because a lot of people can't afford the fee. They can pay the speaker fee sometimes, but we want the book out there. We want to be able to put it in young people's hands. It's only 204 pages, the paperback. So it's an easy read. There's no pictures, so except on the cover. So you're going to read it. And so that way you can kind of stay dialed in. We're actually going to be on the road here. I was scheduled to go to Boston, but they need a larger venue, not just for myself, but there was more people that came in. I was headed to Boston this Thursday, but we're moving that to September. So in August, in July, I'm going to kind of where everything's going to start. In La Crosse, Wisconsin, where I went to college at UW La Crosse. We're going to be speaking at the Boys and Girls Club there. That's on July 8th. Then we're headed to we're headed to Huntsville for somebody named Mrs. Phenomenon. She's got a great deal going on there in town. We're always emceeing right here in the Valley out in Phoenix. And so July is going to be pretty busy for us. And then August, September, we're back in the Midwest and back out to Boston. And there's a couple other places, too, that that are in the works. And we're going to be updating the website here shortly as we get confirmation with some of our other speaking engagements. So, but the book is always available. When I'm on the road, we'll have it with us so that people can have it. People have been asking for autographed copies. I said, "Oh, my autograph." Okay, so
yeah,
I typed all of that. I didn't actually write. I don't even know what my name looks like signed anymore. We don't, no one writes anymore.
They don't take
so it's
cursive anymore. Yeah, that's not a subject in school anymore.
So that's that. As of today, I'm very fortunate, very blessed that my church here in Chandler, Arizona, my pastor's he's going to give a speaker a microphone. He said I had 10 minutes, and I promised him I would give him 6. So he said, well, send me an outline. And I gave him a 6-minute outline, and I'm still going to probably go for 12 minutes.
Oh.
So we're actually going up. We're going to talk for a little bit about the book. He's going to announce the book to the congregation, and we're going to pray over it. And it's really actually, in a lot of ways, I wouldn't call it a soft launch, but just get a blessing over what the book's going to, what we're hoping it to do across a lot of levels. We're already using the book as a tool, as a fundraiser for organizations. I'm the vice president for Pop Warner out here in Chandler, and so if people purchase the book and they email me the receipt back, I give 25% of the proceeds back to that organization. Did the same thing with I've done the same thing with actually the football association, the alumni association at La Crosse, another volleyball club. My daughter plays volleyball out here, and so did the same thing with them, and also doing the same thing with my church. So it's not about the profit as much. We're not looking at this as a profit thing. That that's secondary. The main thing is let's get the message out there. We want to get the message out there, and then also most importantly, we want to be a blessing to people and so on. And this is a way to do that. And I know, if just going forward, I truly believe that the issue, and I said this before, the issue of the fatherless it's huge. It's right. There's a huge gap, and so we're hoping just to give a little bit of a reprieve, a little bit of comfort, but also some steps of how you can fill that void positively in your life. I mean, we know the negative sides of it. We know there's prostitution and incarceration levels, and that's not just within our own community. That's a colorless. Right. Those are colorless issues that are out there that people don't understand. And or they think that, oh, well, why did she do that? Or why did he do that? Well, you don't know his daddy. That's
right.
part of it.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
and let me share this with you, because this is true. Just 2 days ago, Friday, my son and I were playing basketball over at the rec center, and this kid kept shooting and he just kept shooting baskets. And while we're running up and down the court, I says, man, you need to stop, because somebody's going to hurt themselves. I says, and if you were playing, I said, I would hate to send you home to your mom, you know, with you being hurt. And he's like, well, I don't know my mom. I says, well, I mean, your dad. He says, well, I don't know my dad either. I says, well, geez, I mean, I just, you know, he stumped me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he stumped me. I mean, really. And this is a kid that I've seen up there a few times. And so, you know, in the moment, I'm running up and down the court and sweated. So, you know, we didn't have a chance to really sit and talk with him. But I've seen him before, and I'm going to reach back out to that young man when we get a chance, because that, I mean, he sounded like me.
Yeah.
You know, he sounded, I mean, and that in and of itself is where our society, man, I don't, you know, and he said it kind of boldly, like, I don't know my daddy, I don't know my mama. Like,
right.
I'm doing this thing on my own.
Right. Wow.
You know, or at least I'm figuring it out on my own.
Wow.
And so he's using that same protective mechanism that I did. I used to just say, people would be like, man, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I used to say, man, you know, I never knew my dad. And my big thing was always this, man, if my dad walked in this room right now, I wouldn't even know who he was.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So that was always my, you know, you try to stand up there like you being bold, but really it's a cry for help.
Right.
And so there's a lot of cries for help out there, and we're hoping to give a voice to, you know, that piece of it. And then the rest of it is, you know, really helping people master the human experience.
That's
at the end
great.
Of the day.
Oh, that's great. This was an absolute awesome, phenomenal show. I think the audience got a lot of nuggets out of it. I'm a daddy's girl, so, you know, being a daddy's girl, you know, I was still bold. I think a lot of times daughters and their daddies have this special bond. So, you know, I think that's key as well, you know, having that type of relationship. And even if you don't have that relationship, just like Norris says, you know, grab those nuggets, pull some things out of you that you're created to be. You know, he said, you know, when he met his father, he figured that he had a couple of things that was just like him, you know, and also don't forget who your creator, your awesome number one father is. So you always have everything in him, in you. So I want to say thank you, Mr. Thomas, for actually being a part of the show. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, looking forward to seeing everybody in Huntsville.
That's right.
Why don't you tell everybody about your event a little bit, and then we'll.
Oh, so you put me out there. So you just
I'm
like my last guest. He tried to put me out there. So everybody. So I'm having an event. It's going to be called the Phenomenon Experience, and Mr. Norris Thomas has so graciously agreed to be my MC for that night. But I got to tell him about a date change. I'm not going to tell him on the show though.
Okay.
I got to tell him about a date change. So I'm looking forward to all of you guys coming. It's an absolute free event. You get to see him, you get to talk to him, you get to talk to a lot of the people that's been on the show. Also, by that time, you know, maybe you will be on the show, and you feel the fear and do it anyway. So we love you, and we want to see you guys at the event, and we also want you guys to grab a book from Mr. Norris Thomas. Okay, so visit me at Phenomenon. Also, join me on Periscope at Tonia Phenom. Again, feel the fear. See you soon. Bye.
This has been Phenomenon with Tonia. To learn more about the show, visit morningbirdmedia.com, or you can email at phenomenon@morningbirdmedia.com. Also, check out Facebook under Phenomenon. Come back and join Tonia as she helps you feel the fear and do it anyway.